We've had numerous jobs where they pretended to care about you. You know, you're such a good worker, blah blah blah. You know, employee of the month. You still oh, you got pneumonia, can't come in. Dude, we're gonna have to write you up for that. I have pneumonia and I can't come in. We're gonna need a doctor's note. I have pneumonia and I can't even leave the house. I'm going to die. Well, I guess your position's open then. You know, that kind of crap. You know, there are those employers that are just superficially caring. We care about you, you know, that kind of thing. As an employee, we want to make sure you're part of a cohesive work environment. We want to make sure you're performing to the best of your task because we want to make sure you're happy. If you're happy, we're happy. Bull. You know, it's that kind of crap. Because anytime I've had an issue with something and I've approached management or something like that, then all of a sudden they get real. Like, hey, you know, this little situation isn't fair right here, where I'm doing all this stuff and your cousin that you hired for this position isn't doing anything and they're just sitting around making more money than me. So maybe we could work this out where the person you hired at more money is doing their work and I'm not doing all of it. Then all of a sudden they cut your hours. That kind of crap. You know, there's weird things that happen like that you got to be mindful of. So work how your work ethic requires you to, but never extend yourself for a job because they rarely will do that for you. The only job, not even joking, the only manager I had go out of their way for us was the manager of a record store who was on so much cocaine that he didn't even know I was gone for 3 weeks when we took a trip to Paris. I'm not even joking. It was a school trip. It was super discounted. I wasn't passing up. I was like, look, I gotta go. You know, and he had this like weird quirky thing. But you know, if you're gonna leave, you're like, get 3 weeks. I need you here. You got to be here. You got to be here. I'm like, yeah, but this is like a once in a lifetime. I mean, it's Paris, dude. When am I ever gonna go to Paris for like $500? This is like, who's gonna run the register? I mean, we got people, but I mean, I need you here. It's only going to be 3 weeks. I can come right back. I don't know if the job's going to be around. This guy was so blasted out of his mind. I was gone for 3 weeks. I think the 3 weeks went by like that, like because he was on coke the whole time. We showed up like we were trying to reapply. We're like, we're back. You know, I worked here before, but you know, I'd like to kind of try to get rehired. And he's like, what? Where were you? No, we went to Paris for 3 weeks. You said the job may not be here when I get back. I think you're still in the system. So he checks the system. Yeah, you're here. What are you? I didn't fire you. Get to work. And he just storms off and just passed out for about 5 hours in his office. I'm like, hey guys, I'm back. That was the only thing. The only reason this guy was nice to me is because he wasn't grounded in reality. And that's sad. That was sad. This guy was, although he literally died in a parking lot because he was on so many drugs. Not even joking. He died in a parking lot because he was on so many drugs. But he was the only employer that was ever nice to me. How sad is that? Right? So yes, the drug addict who died in a parking lot was more kind to me than any other professional working managers that supposedly had a grasp on reality. You know? So I guess the moral of the story is see if you can find somebody who's high on coke all the time to employ you. I probably could have asked them for a raise. You know? I'd have been like, dude, can I get a raise? What, you want a raise? What is sure? What, $70 an hour? Sure, whatever. Okay, I gotta go to my office. You know? He probably would have given me a raise. And I think I got a raise like 3 weeks later. I mean, it was only a quarter, but I think he was happy I was back. Or maybe he just realized he didn't notice I was gone and felt bad about it. I don't know. So everybody else that I worked for, when they worked you to the point of requiring to give you health care, they cut your hours. Another place just cut your hours for basically the same reason. The other place was like, what the hell was it? They started shifting your hours around so much, and they didn't even accommodate for like school because you were going to school at the time. Um, the other place was that was kind of dicey. It was state run. It was a state run job, but I feel like the manager was a little, had his hand in the till a bit. You know what I'm saying? Because I feel like the numbers that we ran at the end were just, they were always off a little bit by like $100, $200, something like that. And the receipts. And I'm like, I thought I counted this and it was like 5,632. And now there's like 5,032 that he was being pocketed. He liked this because I didn't question it. But I think he knew that I knew what was going on, and then he started shifting my hours around and stuff. And then eventually it's just like I had to leave. Ugh, God. Good people don't inherently desire power, which is the only real benefit of management. Yeah. I don't know. It's just at least for me, it was a bizarre scenario of just managers. But, again, they're never on your side, and it's sad. This is why we ended up kind of working for ourselves to a certain extent. Because it was just like, at least if I'm going to work myself to death, I'm doing it for me, That poor guy. I felt bad for him. Dude, he was fun, man. I know he was on drugs and probably needed help that I just couldn't give him, but the guy was fun. You gotta think this was like some, probably over middle-aged guy. He had these really big bug eyes. They're really big. Dude, he'd like come into the record store and he'd be like, "What are you playing?" We're like, "Oh, it's like a new Marilyn Manson." He's like, "This is great. Turn it up." Like, he would get like super amped and he would just be like, he would start shelving things like you wouldn't believe, and then he'd get all jittery and just go back to his office. And I'm like, this guy's great. I love this guy. Don't do drugs. Unless you're going to organize stuff.